The breeze carried the scent of fresh-cut grass and charcoal as I arranged the last of the appetizer plates on our patio table. Perfect afternoon, perfect weather, perfect life. I smoothed my sundress and smiled at the ultrasound photo tucked safely in my purse. 8 weeks along. Still our little secret. Rhea, the ice is melting faster than I can fill the coolers. My husband Luke appeared at the sliding door, that boyish grin still making my heart skip after 6 years of marriage. Coming, I called back, stealing one more moment to myself. This backyard, our backyard, with its maple trees and the hammock Luke hung last summer, had become my sanctuary. Today it would become something more, the place where we told our closest friends we were finally pregnant. After 3 years of trying, 2 miscarriages, and 1 round of IVF that drained our savings, this baby was our miracle. I pressed my hand against my still flat stomach, allowing myself to feel the fragile hope I'd been too scared to fully embrace. The doorbell chimed. Luke's footsteps crossed the living room, followed by excited voices. Malik's booming laugh, Michelle's melodic greeting. Our chosen family arriving for what they thought was just a summer barbecue. I gathered myself and headed inside, immediately swept into Malik's bear hug. There she is, the hostess with the mostest, he said, passing me a bottle of my favourite rosé. Non-alcoholic, he added with a wink. Michelle said you weren't drinking last time we had dinner. I shot Michelle a look of mock betrayal. Detective skills on point as always. Michelle shrugged, her curls bouncing. I noticed things. Sue me. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister. Running late. Traffic nightmare. Save me food. I typed back. Hurry, Savannah. Big news today. The doorbell rang again. Luke answered while I arranged Michelle's homemade cookies on a platter. Surprise! A familiar voice sang out. I froze, cookie midair. Carla. My best friend since college stood in my entryway, radiant in a floral maxi dress, her husband Jason awkwardly trailing behind. She wasn't supposed to be here. She was supposed to be in Chicago until next month. Carla, I managed, setting down the cookie before I crushed it. What are you— I couldn't miss summer barbecue season. She rushed toward me, enveloping me in a cloud of her signature perfume. We wrapped the project early and I thought, why not surprise everyone? I hugged her back automatically, my mind racing. The announcement. Our moment. Now complicated by Carla's unexpected presence. Luke caught my eye over Carla's shoulder, his expression unreadable. We'd planned this day so carefully. Intimate, just our closest local friends. Not Carla. Not yet. We'd planned to drive to Chicago next month to tell her in person. You should have told us, I said, pulling back. We would have picked you up from the airport. And ruined the surprise? She laughed, that infectious sound that always made everyone join in. Besides, Jason handled it. Right, babe? Jason nodded, looking as uncomfortable as I felt. Something flickered in his eyes, something that made my stomach tighten. The afternoon progressed with the easy rhythm of longtime friends. Drinks poured, burgers grilled, conversations overlapped. I watched Luke and Carla fall into their familiar banter, a friendship forged through me but solidified through years of group vacations and holiday gatherings. When Savannah finally arrived, she pulled me into the kitchen under the pretense of helping with dessert. You okay? She whispered. You look like you've seen a ghost. Carla showed up, unannounced. So? She's your best friend? We were going to announce the pregnancy today. Now it feels like she's stealing your thunder without even knowing it. Savannah squeezed my hand. She just has spectacularly bad timing. Always has. I nodded, trying to shake off my irrational unease. You're right. Let's get the cake. Back outside, Luke caught my eye and raised his eyebrows in question. I nodded slightly. It was time. He clinked his glass and conversations quieted. My heart pounded as he slipped his arm around my waist. Thanks for coming, everyone. Rhea and I have some news we've been dying to share. I took a breath, ready for my line, when Carla suddenly stood up. Actually, she interrupted, Jason and I have an announcement too. The air seemed to still. Luke's arm tensed around me. We're pregnant, Carla beamed, pulling something from her purse. 8 weeks along. She held up an ultrasound image that looked eerily familiar. The same angle, the same date stamp, the same tiny blob that I'd been staring at for weeks. My ultrasound. The world tilted sideways. Voices congratulated her from what seemed like miles away. Luke's arm dropped from my waist. "Isn't it amazing?" Carla gushed, passing the image around. "Ria, you're going to be an auntie." I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't tear my eyes from the ultrasound, my ultrasound, now in Malik's hands as he squinted at it. "That's wonderful," Luke said, his voice strained. "We're so happy for you both." Later, after everyone had gone home except Carla and Jason, who'd invited themselves to stay in our guest room, I found myself alone in the kitchen. A gift bag sat on the counter. "For the mom-to-be," the tag read in Carla's looping handwriting. Inside was a onesie, a bottle of prenatal vitamins, and a card. As I opened it, a small note fluttered to the floor. "Luke, can't wait to tell them our secret. 8 more months until our lives change forever. All my love, C." I stared at the note until the words blurred. My fingers trembled, crumpling the paper's edge. "All my love, C. All my love. C for Carla, my best friend since sophomore year. My maid of honor, the woman sleeping in my guest room right now." The kitchen felt too small suddenly, the walls pressing in. I slid to the floor, my back against the cool refrigerator door, and tried to breathe through the tightness in my chest. It had to be a mistake, a horrible coincidence. Maybe she'd bought a generic card and forgotten to remove some pre-printed note. Maybe... "Ria!" I jumped at Luke's voice, shoving the note into my pocket. He stood in the doorway, his face haggard in the dim light. "Everyone's gone," he said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Carla and Jason are settled in the guest room." "My ultrasound," I whispered. She had my ultrasound. Luke ran his hand through his hair, a nervous habit I used to find endearing. It just looked similar. All ultrasounds do at that stage. "No." I stood up, steadier than I felt. It was mine. The same date stamp, the same position, even that little smudge in the corner from when the printer at Dr. Winter's office was running low on toner. "You're being paranoid." His voice had an edge I rarely heard. "It's been a long day, let's just go to bed." I studied his face, the face I'd woken up to for 6 years, the slight twitch at the corner of his mouth, the way his eyes darted away. "You knew she was coming," I said slowly. "You weren't surprised at all when she showed up. Don't be ridiculous." He turned away, opening the fridge and grabbing a beer. "I'm going to watch some TV. Come up when you're ready." I waited until I heard the bedroom door close before pulling out my phone and calling the one person who would understand. "Savannah, I need you to come over. Now." Holy shit. Savannah sat across from me at our kitchen table, the note between us like a live grenade. "Are you absolutely sure?" "The ultrasound was mine." I pushed my cold tea away. "And this note? It's her handwriting. I'd recognize it anywhere." "But that would mean," Savannah trailed off, her face paling, "that my husband and my best friend are having an affair." The words felt foreign in my mouth, bitter and wrong. "And they're using my pregnancy to cover it up." Savannah reached for my hand. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know." I stared at our joined hands. Part of me wants to march upstairs and confront them both. Another part is afraid of what I'll find out. "You need evidence," Savannah said firmly. "Real evidence, not just suspicions. If they're really having an affair..." "They are?" The certainty in my voice surprised even me. "Then you need to be smart about this. Don't tip them off until you know exactly what's going on." I nodded, a strange calm settling over me. "You're right. I need to understand what I'm dealing with before I make a move." Savannah squeezed my hand. "You're not alone in this. I'm here, and we should tell Malik. He'll help too." "Not yet." I shook my head. "Just you for now. I can't have everyone looking at me with pity while I figure this out." After Savannah left, I crept upstairs, pausing outside the guest room. Silence. I continued to our bedroom where Luke lay sleeping, his back to my side of the bed. I stood watching him breathe. This stranger I'd married, and felt something harden inside me. Whatever was happening, I would face it. But on my terms. Morning brought the artificial cheerfulness of people with secrets. Carla bustled around my kitchen making pancakes, chattering about her pregnancy symptoms. The nausea is the worst. Is it hitting you yet, Rhea? Oh, she clapped her hand over her mouth in mock horror. I totally stole your thunder yesterday, didn't I? You were going to announce something too? Luke froze by the coffee maker, his shoulders tensing. I forced a smile. Just a promotion at work. Nothing as exciting as a baby. The relief on both their faces made my stomach turn. We should celebrate anyway. Carla flipped a pancake with unnecessary flourish. Let's do dinner tonight, just the four of us. Actually, I said, I promised Malik I'd help with some event planning for his sister's charity thing. Rain check. Of course, Carla pouted. Maybe Luke can join us, though. Jason's been dying to try that new steakhouse downtown. Luke looked at me, a question in his eyes. You should go, I said lightly. I'll be home late anyway. Shh. Malik's apartment was my sanctuary that afternoon. I hadn't told him everything, just enough that he knew I needed space from Carla and Luke. Something's off with them, he said, setting a mug of coffee in front of me. I noticed it yesterday. The way they kept looking at each other when they thought no one was watching. My throat tightened. You saw it too. I didn't want to say anything, but he hesitated. There's something else. Michelle mentioned seeing them together at Cliffside last month. Cliffside? The fertility clinic? My heart pounded. That's where Luke and I did our IVF. Why would they? My phone buzzed with a text. Unknown number. I know what they did. Check your email. Be careful who you trust. Rhea? What is it? Malik leaned forward, concerned. I stared at my phone, a chill running down my spine. I think someone's about to show me exactly what I'm dealing with. My fingers hovered over my phone, heart hammering against my ribs. Malik's apartment suddenly felt too warm, too small. I need to check my email, I whispered, more to myself than to him. Malik nodded, sliding his laptop across the coffee table. Use this. The message loaded instantly. No subject line, no greeting, just a short paragraph and an attachment. I work at Cliffside Fertility. What I witnessed between your husband and Carla Lawson violates every ethical standard. The attached security footage is from 6 weeks ago. I'm sorry. You don't have to watch this now, Malik said gently, or at all. I do. My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. I need to know. The video was grainy but clear enough. A hallway at Cliffside, date stamp in the corner. Luke and Carla emerged from a door marked Consultation Room 3. Nothing incriminating yet, just two people walking down a hallway. Then Luke pulled Carla into an alcove, out of view of the main corridor, their bodies pressed together. His hand cupped her face in a gesture so achingly familiar, it made me nauseous. They kissed, not a friendly peck, but the deep, hungry kiss of lovers. When they separated, Carla said something that made Luke laugh. He reached into his pocket and handed her something small. She looked at it, nodded, and tucked it into her purse. Then they walked out of frame, his hand resting possessively on the small of her back. I closed the laptop, my hands surprisingly steady. Rhea? Malik's voice was careful, concerned. 6 weeks ago. I stared at the closed laptop. That's when we found out the IVF worked. That's when I got my first ultrasound. Malik sat beside me, his presence solid and reassuring. What do you need right now? What did I need? The questions seemed impossibly complex and ridiculously simple at once. I need to understand what's happening. I stood up, suddenly restless. That clinic has all my medical information, my embryos. What were they doing there together? What did he give her? You think it might have been your ultrasound? Maybe. Or something worse. A horrible thought struck me. What if they're using my embryos somehow? What if her pregnancy is actually... I couldn't finish the sentence. The possibility was too grotesque, too violating to put into words. "Let's not jump to conclusions," Malik said, though his expression betrayed his own concern. "There might be an explanation." "Like what? They happened to be at my fertility clinic for completely innocent reasons?" Bitterness crept into my voice. "While having an affair? I'm just saying we need more information before you confront them." I nodded, gathering my thoughts. "I need to go to Cliffside, talk to someone there. Today? Now." The waiting room at Cliffside Fertility Centre smelled of antiseptic and artificial lavender. I'd spent countless hours here over the past year. Hopeful, then devastated, then cautiously optimistic again. Now I sat rigid in the same chair where Luke had held my hand and promised we'd be parents soon. "Mrs. Webber?" A receptionist I didn't recognize called my name. "Dr. Winters can see you now." Dr. Winters looked surprised when I entered her office alone. "Rhea, I wasn't expecting you until next week's checkup. Is everything all right with the pregnancy?" I sat down, choosing my words carefully. "I need to ask you something, and I need complete honesty." Her expression shifted to professional concern. "Of course. Has my husband been here without me? With another woman?" Dr. Winters blinked, clearly caught off guard. I'm not sure what you're asking." "I think you do." I pulled out my phone and placed it on her desk, the frozen image of Luke and Carla in the hallway visible on the screen. "This is from your security cameras, 6 weeks ago." She stared at the image, then at me, her professional demeanor cracking slightly. "Rhea, patient confidentiality prevents me from—" "Don't." My voice shook with barely controlled anger. "My husband and my best friend were here together behind my back. I need to know why." Dr. Winters removed her glasses, rubbing the bridge of her nose. "I can only discuss your medical information with you." "Is she using my embryos?" The question burst out raw and desperate. "Is that even possible?" "Absolutely not." Her response was immediate, firm. "That would be illegal and completely unethical. We have strict protocols." "Then why were they here?" She hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "I can tell you that no one has accessed your embryos except for the procedure that resulted in your current pregnancy." Relief washed over me, followed quickly by renewed confusion. "Then what—" "Mrs. Webber," she interrupted gently, "I suggest you speak with your husband. That's all I can say." I left Cliffside with more questions than answers, my mind racing. If they weren't tampering with my embryos, what were they doing there? And what had Luke given Carla in that video? Outside, I leaned against a concrete pillar, trying to steady my breathing. My phone buzzed with a text from Luke. "Where are you?" "Carla and Jason want to take us to dinner." Another text followed immediately. Also, "Have you seen my blue thumb drive?" "Can't find it anywhere." A thumb drive, small enough to fit in a pocket, easy to hand to someone in a hallway. My phone buzzed again, this time from the unknown number. "Check the financial records. Joint accounts. Look for transfers to Cliffside 6 months ago that don't match your treatment schedule." I stared at the message, a cold clarity settling over me. Whatever was happening went deeper than an affair. Much deeper. I texted Luke back. "Not feeling well. Staying at Savannah's tonight. Check the desk drawer for your drive." Then I called the one person who could help me access our financial records without tipping off Luke. "Michelle, it's Rhea. I need your help with something. Something no one else can know about." Michelle's kitchen smelled of fresh coffee and cinnamon, a stark contrast to the ugliness we were about to uncover. As Malik's sister and an accountant, she had the skills I needed right now. "I brought everything I could find," I said, placing a folder on her counter. "Bank statements, investment accounts, tax returns from the last 2 years." Michelle nodded. "All business." "What exactly are we looking for?" "Payments to Cliffside Fertility that I don't know about, specifically around 6 months ago." She didn't ask why, and I was grateful. Malik must have filled her in on the basics. "Let me see." She opened her laptop and began sorting through the documents with practiced efficiency. "Your IVF treatments were expensive. Almost 50,000 altogether. Insurance covered some. But yes." I wrapped my hands around a mug of coffee I couldn't bring myself to drink. We had to take out a second mortgage. Michelle frowned, comparing two statements. There's something odd here. A wire transfer to Cliffside for $22,000 on February 12th. But your treatment schedule shows your last payment was in January. My stomach clenched. That's not mine. It came from your joint savings account. She turned the laptop so I could see. Luke authorized it. What could cost that much? We already paid for the embryo creation and storage. Michelle hesitated. There are other services fertility clinics offer. Egg donation, surrogacy arrangements. The implication hung in the air between us. Keep looking, I said, my voice tight. What else? She continued scrolling through statements. There's a pattern of cash withdrawals from your joint checking account. $2,000 every month for the past year, always on the 15th. I never noticed. Shame coloured my admission. Luke handles most of our finances. Don't blame yourself. Michelle's voice was gentle but firm. Financial infidelity is part of how people hide affairs. The word affair landed like a physical blow. Until now, I'd been operating in a strange limbo, knowing but not fully accepting the betrayal. There's more, Michelle said, frowning at the screen. A safety deposit box rental at First National downtown. Opened 8 months ago. Both your names are on it, but the notification address is a P.O. box I don't recognize. I stared at her, the pieces clicking into horrible place. He's been planning this, whatever this is, for months. Michelle reached across the table and squeezed my hand. What do you want to do now? I need to see what's in that safety deposit box. The bank manager looked between Luke's driver's license in my hand and my face, his expression skeptical. This isn't your ID, Ma'am. It's my husband's. I forced a laugh I didn't feel. He's out of town and asked me to grab some documents we need for a home refinance. I'm on the account too, you can check. He tapped at his computer. I see that, Mrs. Webber, but our policy requires either both parties present or... Please, I leaned forward, dropping my voice. It's our anniversary next week. I'm surprising him with a trip, and the passport renewal forms are in the box. I forgot to ask him before he left. The manager's expression softened. Well, since you're on the account, just this once. Minutes later, I sat alone in a small viewing room with the metal box before me. My hands trembled as I lifted the lid. Inside were documents in neat folders. Birth certificates, mine and Luke's, marriage license, house deed. Normal things you'd expect. Then I found it. A folder labelled Cliffside Agreement. I opened it and began to read, my vision blurring as the full scope of their betrayal came into focus. It wasn't just an affair. It was so much worse. Luke had authorized the use of our embryos, our children, for third-party implantation. There was a legal agreement signed by both Luke and Carla, with Jason's signature conspicuously absent. The document outlined financial arrangements, custody provisions, and confidentiality clauses. They had stolen my embryos. My baby. No, I realized with sickening clarity. Not stolen. The agreement specified embryo number 3, one of the 5 we had created. Carla was pregnant with my biological child, with Luke's consent. A child that would be raised as hers and Jason's, with Luke secretly involved. The room spun around me. I shoved the documents back into the box, keeping only the agreement, which I photographed with shaking hands before returning it. Breathe, Rhea. Malik's voice seemed to come from far away. Just breathe. We sat in his car outside the bank, the air conditioning blasting against my clammy skin. They took my embryo, I whispered. My baby. They're going to raise my child and pretend it's theirs. Does Jason know? Malik asked. I don't think so. His signature isn't on anything. I pressed my hands against my eyes. What kind of person does this to their best friend? To their own husband? Malik's phone chimed with a text. He glanced at it, then at me, his expression unreadable. What? I asked. It's Michelle. She found something else. He hesitated. The ultrasound image Carla showed everyone. Michelle zoomed in on the date stamp. It matches yours exactly. Not just the date, but the time. Down to the minute. That's impossible unless... Unless it's literally your ultrasound image. Malik's voice was gentle. Ria, I don't think Carla is actually pregnant. I stared at him, the implications crashing over me in waves. Then what is this? What are they doing? My phone lit up with a notification, an email from the unknown sender. Found something you need to see. Cliffside parking garage, 20 minutes. I showed Malik the message. It could be a trap, he warned, or it could be answers. I straightened in my seat, a cold determination replacing my shock. And right now, I need those more than I need safety. The cliffside parking garage was nearly empty at this hour, fluorescent lights casting harsh shadows across concrete pillars. Malik insisted on coming with me, waiting in his car at the entrance while I ventured deeper alone. Level 3, Section D, as instructed in the follow-up text. My footsteps echoed in the cavernous space, each sound amplified by my frayed nerves. I clutched my phone, thumb hovering over the emergency call button. "Hello?" I called out, my voice bouncing off concrete walls. A figure stepped out from behind a pillar. A woman in scrubs, maybe mid-40s, her face tight with anxiety. "Mrs. Weber?" She glanced around nervously. "I'm Ruby. I'm a nurse at Cliffside." "You're the one who's been texting me?" She nodded, pulling a manila envelope from her bag. I could lose my job for this. Worse, actually. But what they're doing, I couldn't stay silent. I took the envelope, my fingers trembling slightly. "What is this?" "Evidence." Ruby's voice dropped to a whisper. "Your husband and that woman, they've been coming to the clinic for months. At first, I thought they were just having an affair, using the clinic as cover. But it's more complicated." I opened the envelope and pulled out several documents, patient intake forms, lab results, and a photograph of Luke and Carla sitting in what looked like a consultation room. "Carla isn't pregnant," Ruby confirmed. "She never was. The ultrasound she showed, it was yours. Dr. Mercer gave it to her." "Dr. Mercer?" I frowned. "I've never seen him. My doctor is Dr. Winters. He handles special cases." Ruby's expression darkened. "Look at the lab results." I scanned the papers, medical terminology swimming before my eyes. "I don't understand. Carla can't have children. These tests confirm it. Complete ovarian failure. But she and your husband have been planning something." Ruby pointed to a notation on one form. "They requested access to your embryos months ago. Dr. Winters refused. It's unethical without your consent, but Dr. Mercer was willing to help them, for a price." My stomach lurched. "The $22,000 payment?" Ruby nodded. "They were planning to use a surrogate, a woman from outside the country. The paperwork would be falsified to show Carla as the biological mother." "But why?" My voice cracked. "Why go through all this deception?" "The last time they came in, I overheard them arguing. Carla was saying something about an inheritance that required her to have a biological child by the end of the year. Millions of dollars were at stake. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. Carla's wealthy grandmother had died last year. There had been talk of a complex will, conditions that had to be met. So, they were going to use my embryo, find a surrogate, and pretend the baby was theirs? For money? The enormity of the betrayal made me dizzy, but then I got pregnant, which complicated their plan. Ruby checked her watch nervously. "They've been scrambling. That's why Carla showed up at your house unexpectedly. She's desperate to establish her pregnancy publicly before they find another solution." "Another solution?" Cold dread washed over me. Ruby hesitated. "I don't know exactly. But yesterday, Dr. Mercer requested access to your current medical file. He has no reason to be involved in your care." A terrible thought struck me. Could they try to take my baby? The one I'm carrying now? "I don't think..." Ruby froze, her eyes widening as she looked past me. "Someone's coming. I have to go." She hurried away, disappearing behind a concrete pillar as headlights swept across the garage wall. I ducked behind a nearby car, clutching the envelope to my chest. A familiar silver Audi pulled into a space near the elevator. Luke's car. My husband stepped out, checking his phone before heading toward the hospital entrance. What was he doing here? At this hour? I waited until he was gone before racing back to Malik's car, my heart pounding. You need to go to the police. Malik's voice was firm as we sat in his living room, the documents from Ruby spread across his coffee table. And tell them what? That my husband and best friend are planning to steal my embryos? That they might try to take my baby? I pressed my hands against my face. It sounds insane. It is insane. But these documents prove something illegal is happening. They'll say it's a private matter, a divorce issue. I'd never felt so helpless. And going public means everyone knowing, my family, our friends, my colleagues. My baby would be born into this nightmare. Malik leaned forward, his expression serious. Ria, I need to tell you something. Michelle didn't just find financial records. She found emails. My stomach dropped. What emails? Between Luke and Carla. They go back years, Ria. This isn't new. The rooms seemed to tilt. Years? We've only been married 6 years. Malik couldn't meet my eyes. The emails started before your wedding. The betrayal cut deeper than I thought possible. Not just my husband. Not just my best friend. But a deception that predated my marriage, my pregnancy, everything I thought was real. Show me, I whispered. He handed me his tablet. The emails were there, hundreds of them. Love notes, plans, discussions about me, about how to keep me in the dark. In one, dated just after our wedding, Luke wrote, "She has no idea, and she never will. We just need to be patient." Another from last year. "Once the inheritance comes through, we'll have everything we need. R is just a means to an end." A means to an end. That's all I was to them. A stepping stone to the life they really wanted. My phone buzzed with a text from Luke. "Where are you? Carla's worried. Come home." I looked up at Malik, a cold clarity washing over me. I'm done being their victim. It's time they learned what it feels like to be betrayed. I ripped another photo in half, watching Carla's smiling face tear down the middle. The pile of destroyed memories on my sister's coffee table grew larger, a decade of friendship reduced to confetti. "Feel better?" Savannah asked, handing me a mug of herbal tea. No. I dropped the torn photo and reached for another, but it beat screaming into a pillow. 3 days had passed since the parking garage meeting. 3 days of ignoring Luke's increasingly frantic texts. 3 days of planning. "Have you thought about what you'll say to them?" Savannah perched on the arm of the sofa. Every word. I set down the photos and pulled out my phone, scrolling to the document where I'd outlined my confrontation. I've rehearsed it 100 times. "And you're sure about doing this publicly? At the party?" I nodded. Michelle and Malik's annual summer gathering was tomorrow night, an event Luke and Carla wouldn't miss. The perfect stage for what I had planned. They wanted an audience for their lies. They'll have one for the truth. Savannah studied me, concern etched across her face. "I'm worried about you, Ria. This revenge plan. It's not like you." The old me died when I read those emails. I met her gaze steadily. The woman who trusted blindly, who made excuses for people who didn't deserve them, she's gone. "I just don't want you to do something you'll regret." "Regret?" I laughed, a hollow sound that surprised even me. "I regret every second I spent loving people who saw me as nothing but a means to an end." My phone buzzed with a text from Ruby. "Dr. Mercer accessed your medical records again. Be careful." A chill ran through me. "They're getting desperate." Savannah read the message over my shoulder. "Maybe we should postpone the confrontation. If they're planning something." "No." I stood up, suddenly restless. "I need this to end. I need everyone to know what they did. At least talk to someone first. A professional." I started to argue, then stopped. Maybe she was right. The rage burning inside me was clouding my judgment, pushing me toward a public spectacle that might feel satisfying in the moment but could have consequences I wasn't considering. Fine. 1 session. Dr. Ruby Wolf's office was nothing like I expected. Warm colours, comfortable furniture, no clinical sterility. The woman herself matched the space. Gentle eyes behind stylish glasses, an air of calm attentiveness. "So you're the mysterious Ruby," I said as I sat down. "The nurse from the parking garage." She smiled slightly. "I'm a psychologist, not a nurse. I consult at Cliffside occasionally, which is how I became aware of your situation. I hope you'll forgive the deception. I needed to establish trust before revealing my full identity." I tensed. "How do I know you're not working with them?" "A fair question." She handed me a business card and gestured to her credentials on the wall. "You're welcome to verify my identity, but I assure you, my only interest is helping you navigate this trauma safely." I studied her, searching for signs of deception and finding none. "Why did you get involved? Why risk your career? Because what they're doing is wrong." Her voice carried quiet conviction. "And because I've seen the aftermath of betrayal like this before. Without proper support, it can destroy more than just the relationships involved." For the next hour, I poured out everything. The affair, the embryo theft scheme, the inheritance, my plans for public exposure. Ruby listened without judgment, asking occasional questions that cut to the heart of my emotions. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. "Your anger is justified," she finally said. "The betrayal you've experienced is profound. But I'm concerned about your focus on public humiliation as the solution." "They deserve it," I insisted. "Perhaps. But is that what you need? Will exposing them this way bring you peace, or just momentary satisfaction followed by more pain?" Her words hit a nerve I hadn't acknowledged. "What's the alternative? Let them get away with it?" "There are ways to hold people accountable without sacrificing your own dignity in the process." Ruby leaned forward. "And ways to protect yourself and your child that don't involve public spectacle." "Like what?" "Legal action. Private confrontation with witnesses present. Documentation of everything before making any public statements." She held my gaze. "The question isn't whether they deserve exposure. It's whether turning your pain into a performance serves your healing." I left Ruby's office with my certainty shaken. The rage still burned, but her words had created space for something else. A small voice asking if there might be a better way. That voice fell silent when I checked my phone and found a voicemail from an unknown number. "Mrs. Weber, this is Dr. Mercer from Cliffside. I'm calling about some concerning test results from your last visit. Please come in tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. It's urgent we discuss your pregnancy." Cold fear replaced my anger. There were no concerning test results. My last checkup had been perfect. This was their next move, trying to get me alone at the clinic. I called Ruby immediately. "They're making their move," I said when she answered. "Dr. Mercer left a message about fake test results, trying to lure me to the clinic." "Don't go," Ruby said firmly. "Whatever you do, don't go alone." "I won't?" A plan crystallized in my mind. But this changes things. They're escalating, which means I need to as well. "Ria, the party is tonight. Everything is ready." My resolve hardened. I'm done waiting for them to take more from me. It ends tonight. I hung up and texted Malik. "It's happening. Be ready with the projector." Michelle and Malik's backyard glowed with string lights, the summer evening perfect for their annual gathering. I stood at the edge of the patio, watching guests mingle while my heart hammered against my ribs. The weight of the USB drive in my pocket felt like a grenade with the pin halfway pulled. "They just arrived," Savannah murmured, appearing at my side with a glass of sparkling water. "Luke's looking for you." I took a slow sip, ice clinking against glass. Let him look. Across the yard, Luke moved through the crowd, his practiced smile not quite reaching his eyes. Carla trailed behind him, one hand resting on her still flat stomach, in the theatrical way she'd adopted since announcing her fake pregnancy. "Are you absolutely sure about this?" Savannah squeezed my arm. "It's not too late to handle it privately." For a moment, doubt crept in. Ruby's warnings echoed in my mind. Was I making a mistake? Would this public exposure heal anything, or just create more pain? Then I saw Luke spot me. Saw the relief wash over his face as he nudged Carla and pointed in my direction. saw them exchange a look of such calculated concern that it made my skin crawl. "I'm sure," I said, straightening my shoulders. "Some things deserve to be dragged into the light." Luke reached me first, pulling me into an embrace that once would have felt like coming home. Now his touch made my skin crawl. "Where have you been?" he whispered, his voice a perfect blend of worry and relief. "I've been texting you for days." I stepped back, maintaining a smile for anyone watching. I needed some space to think. "You could have told me that." His eyes darted to my stomach. "I was worried about the baby." "Were you?" I kept my voice light. "That's touching." Carla joined us, her face a mask of friendly concern. "Rhea, we've been so worried. Are you feeling better?" The audacity of her performance, standing there pretending to care while plotting to steal my child, made something snap inside me. All doubts vanished. "Much better," I said. "In fact, I have an announcement to make tonight." Alarm flashed in Luke's eyes. "An announcement? What kind of announcement?" "You'll see." I nodded toward Malik, who was setting up a projector against the back wall of the house. "It's almost time." Luke grabbed my wrist, his fingers digging in slightly. "Rhea, whatever you're thinking, let go of me." My voice was steel. "Unless you want to make a scene right now." He released me, glancing nervously at the other guests. "Can we talk privately, please?" "We're past that point." I stepped away, moving toward the makeshift stage where Malik had finished setting up. "Excuse me, I need to get ready." Michelle clinked a glass, calling for everyone's attention. The crowd of 30 or so friends quieted, turning toward her. "Thanks for coming, everyone," she said brightly. "Before dinner, Rhea has something she'd like to share with us all." My moment had arrived. I walked to the front, the USB drive now in my hand. Malik gave me a supportive nod as I handed it to him. "Thank you all for coming tonight," I began, my voice steadier than I expected. "Many of you know that Luke and I have been trying to start a family for years." Murmurs of sympathy and encouragement rippled through the crowd. I caught sight of Luke and Carla at the back, their faces frozen in identical masks of dread. "What you don't know is that we succeeded. I'm pregnant." I placed a hand on my stomach, reclaiming this moment that had been stolen from me. 8 weeks along. Confusion spread through the gathering. Several people glanced between me and Carla, who had also claimed to be 8 weeks pregnant. "I'm sharing this now because the journey to this pregnancy has been complicated by betrayal." I nodded to Malik, who started the projection. "And I believe the truth deserves to be heard." The first image appeared on the wall. The security footage of Luke and Carla kissing at the fertility clinic. Gasps rippled through the crowd. "My husband and my best friend have been having an affair for years," I continued, my voice clear despite the tremor in my hands. "But that's not the worst of their betrayal." The next slide showed the embryo transfer agreement with Luke and Carla's signatures. They conspired to steal my embryos, my children, for their own purposes. I looked directly at Carla. For money, for an inheritance that required a biological child by the end of the year. Carla stepped forward, her face contorted with rage and panic. "This is insane! You're twisting everything!" "Am I?" The next slide showed her medical records, proof of her infertility. "You're not pregnant, Carla. You never were. You stole my ultrasound image to fake a pregnancy while you figured out how to get your hands on my baby." The crowd had gone completely silent, all eyes moving between us like spectators at a tennis match. Luke pushed through the crowd toward me. "Rhea, stop this. You're making a fool of yourself." "No, Luke. I'm finally seeing clearly." I clicked to the final slide, their emails displayed in damning detail. "You wrote that I was just a means to an end. Well, the end has come, but not the one you planned." I turned back to the stunned audience. I wanted you all to know the truth. Not just for me, but for all of us who believed in these people, who trusted them. Carla lunged forward suddenly, her composure completely shattered. "You stupid bitch! Do you have any idea what you've done?" In her rage, she knocked over a glass, sending it shattering across the patio. The sound seemed to break the spell of shock that had fallen over the gathering. "What I've done," I said, my voice steady as I faced her, "is take back my life, my child, my truth." Luke grabbed Carla's arm, trying to pull her away, but she shook him off, her face twisted with fury. "You think you've won?" she spat. "This isn't over. That baby is our ticket to millions, and I'm not letting you ruin everything we've worked for." The confession hung in the air, damning and final. Even Luke looked stunned by her outburst. I smiled, a genuine smile that felt like the first in months. "Actually, Carla, it is over, and everyone here is my witness." The silence following Carla's outburst shattered when someone in the crowd started slow clapping. Others joined in, the sound building until it filled the backyard. Not applause of celebration, but of recognition. Acknowledgement of a truth laid bare. Luke grabbed Carla's arm, his face ashen. "We need to go. Now." "You're not going anywhere." Malik stepped forward, phone in hand. "The police are on their way." "The police?" Luke's laugh was brittle. "This is a private matter. Conspiracy to commit medical fraud isn't private," I said. "Neither is attempting to access medical records without consent. Dr. Mercer has already been reported to the medical board." Carla wrenched free of Luke's grip, her mask of sophistication completely gone. "You think anyone will believe you? It's your word against ours." "Actually," Michelle said, stepping forward with her tablet, "it's your words against you. Every email, every document, every transaction. I've been tracking them for weeks. The police will have quite a file to work with." Luke's eyes darted around, looking for an escape route. "This is ridiculous. We never—" "Save it for your lawyer," Savannah cut in, her arms slipping protectively around my shoulders. "And good luck finding one who'll touch this case." The wail of police sirens in the distance seemed to break something in Luke. His shoulders slumped, the fight draining from him. "Carla, let's just go," he muttered. "We can explain everything later." "Go where?" she hissed. "It's over, Luke. She's ruined everything." I watched them, these strangers wearing the faces of people I'd loved, and felt a strange calm settle over me. "You ruined it yourselves. I just refused to be your victim." 2 police officers arrived, directed to us by a grim-faced Michelle. The formality of statements and explanations created a surreal bubble around the confrontation. Guests drifted away from the spectacle, gathering in shocked clusters across the yard. As the police led Luke and Carla towards separate patrol cars, Luke looked back at me one last time. "Rhea, please. We can work this out." I met his gaze steadily. "We already have." The gathering dispersed quickly after the police left. Only our closest friends remained, helping Michelle and Malik clean up the abandoned party. I sat on the porch swing, watching fireflies blink in the gathering darkness. The adrenaline that had carried me through the confrontation was fading, leaving exhaustion in its wake. Malik brought me a cup of tea, settling beside me on the swing. "You okay?" "I don't know what I am," I admitted. Relieved, devastated, numb. All of the above sounds about right. We sat in comfortable silence, the gentle creaking of the swing punctuating the night sounds. "What happens now?" he finally asked. "Legally? Their lawyers will try to make deals. There will be divorce proceedings, possibly criminal charges depending on what else the investigation uncovers." I sipped my tea. "Personally, I have no idea. You could stay with us for a while. Michelle already made up the guest room." I smiled, genuinely touched. "Thank you, but I think I need to go home tonight." "Home? Are you sure?" "It's still my house, my life." I placed a hand on my stomach. "Our home. I won't let them take anything else from me." The house was eerily quiet when I unlocked the door. I moved through the rooms, turning on lights, reclaiming the space that had been poisoned by betrayal. In the study, Luke's desk drawer stood partially open. He'd left in too much of a hurry to close it properly. Inside was a small velvet box I didn't recognize. Curious, I opened it. Not jewelry as I'd expected, but a small silver key. Attached was a tag with an address in Cliffside, a storage facility. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. There's more you don't know. Storage Unit 227. The key is in his desk. Ruby. It had to be. The storage facility was well lit despite the late hour. Unit 227 was at the end of a long row of identical metal doors. The key turned smoothly in the lock. Inside, neatly organized shelves held dozens of file boxes, each labeled with a woman's name and a date. With growing horror, I realized what I was looking at: Luke and Carla's previous victims. Women they'd manipulated, scammed, betrayed. Financial records, photographs, personal information, all meticulously documented. Some boxes contained legal documents showing property transfers, investment accounts, insurance policies. And there, on a shelf by itself, a box labelled RIA in Carla's handwriting. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a detailed plan spanning years, from the day we met through a projected accident that would leave Luke in control of my assets and our child. Photos of me at various events, unaware I was being documented. A timeline of my fertility treatments. A copy of my will. They hadn't just betrayed me. They'd selected me, targeted me, for a long con that was supposed to end with something far worse than heartbreak. My phone rang. Savannah worried about where I'd gone. As I explained, her shock mirrored my own. "Come to my place," she insisted. "You shouldn't be alone with this." "I'm not alone anymore," I said, a strange calm settling over me as I looked at the evidence of their elaborate scheme. "And neither are their other victims." I closed the box, my decision made. These women deserved to know the truth just as I had, and I would make sure they learned it. The weight of betrayal would always be part of my story, but it wouldn't be the end of it. Not for me, not for my child, and not for the others who had been manipulated by the people I once trusted most. I placed a protective hand over my stomach, feeling stronger than I had in months. "We're going to be okay," I whispered to my baby, "and we're going to make sure they never hurt anyone else again."